The cold metal floor of Luna Research Station felt strange under Dr. Kang Hyun's boots. He had been walking these halls for 3 years now, but the low gravity still made him feel like he was floating. Outside the thick windows, Earth hung in the black sky like a blue marble. Hyun checked his watch. It was time for the morning briefing. He walked toward the main control room where his team waited. The station was small, holding only 20 people. They were all scientists and engineers, studying rocks and ice on the moon's far side. "Good morning, everyone," Hyun said as he entered the room. His breath made small clouds in the cold air. The heating system worked, but it never made the station truly warm. Park Sumi, the station commander, stood at the front of the room. She was a serious woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. "Today we continue the geological survey in Sector 7, she announced. "The readings from yesterday show something unusual under the surface." Lee Tae-ho, the security chief, raised his hand. "What kind of unusual?" "We need to follow safety rules." "Just mineral deposits," Park Sumi replied. "Nothing dangerous. Dr. Kang will lead the team," Hyun nodded. He loved going outside the station. The lunar surface was quiet and peaceful, unlike the crowded cities on Earth. As a xenobiologist, he studied alien life, but so far, humans had found none. Every day he hoped this would change. 2 hours later, Hyun suited up for the surface walk. His team included 3 other scientists, Kim Ji-won from Communications, Oh Min-soo the engineer, and Dr. Nam Yoon-ha, who studied behavior and minds. They checked each other's suits carefully. One small hole meant death in the airless cold. "All systems green," Kim Ji-won reported through the radio. "Oxygen at full, power at maximum." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The 4 humans stepped onto Luna's gray surface. Above them, the black sky held 1,000,000 stars. No wind existed here, no weather, no sound except their breathing and radio chatter. They walked toward Sector 7, their boots leaving deep prints in the ancient dust. The Earth hung overhead, a beautiful reminder of home. Hyun always felt small when he looked at it. "Readings are getting stronger," Oh Min-soo said, checking his scanner. "Whatever it is, it's about 50 meters ahead." The team climbed over a small ridge of rock. On the other side, they found a crater about 10 meters wide. It looked fresh, not like the old ones that covered Luna's surface. "This is new," Dr. Nam Yoon-ha observed. "Maybe a few days old at most." Hyun felt his heart beat faster. New craters meant meteorites, and meteorites sometimes carried interesting materials. He started down the slope, moving carefully in the low gravity. At the bottom of the crater, something glittered in the earth light. It was not a rock. Hyun moved closer and stopped breathing. A small creature lay motionless in the lunar dust. It was about the size of a house cat, with scales that shimmered like crystals. Tiny wings, no bigger than his hands, folded against its sides. The creature's skin was pale blue, almost transparent. "Team," Hyun whispered into his radio. "I need everyone down here now." The other 3 scientists hurried down the crater wall. When they saw the creature, they all stood silent for long moments. "Is it alive?" Kim Ji-won asked. Hyun knelt beside the being. Through his thick gloves, he could barely feel anything, but he thought he sensed a tiny heartbeat. "I think so, but barely. What is it?" Oh Min-soo stared at the creature with wide eyes. "I don't know," Hyun admitted. "Nothing like this exists on Earth. It must be alien." Dr. Nam Yoon-ha checked her equipment. "The body temperature is almost 0. It's freezing to death." Hyun made a decision that would change everything. "We're taking it back to the station." Lee Tae-ho's voice crackled through the radio from the station. "Negative. Protocol says all alien materials stay outside until full testing." "This isn't a material," Hyun replied. "It's a living being. It will die if we leave it here." "That's not our problem," Lee Tae-ho said firmly. "We follow the rules." Park Sumi's voice joined the conversation. "What exactly did you find, Dr. Kang?" Hyun described the creature while his team took photos and measurements. The being was clearly intelligent in design. Its scales formed complex patterns, and its limbs showed purpose and grace even in unconsciousness. "It looks like a dragon," Kim Ji-won whispered, "like in the old stories." "Dragons aren't real," Oh Min-soo said, but his voice held wonder. "Neither were aliens until today," Dr. Nam Yoon-ha pointed out. Park Sumi was quiet for several minutes. Finally, she spoke. "Bring it to medical bay. We'll use the isolation chamber. If it dies, we learn nothing. If it lives, we make history." Lee Tae-ho protested, but Park Sumi overruled him. "I take full responsibility," she said. Hyun carefully lifted the small dragon. It weighed almost nothing in lunar gravity, but he could feel its delicate bones and soft scales. The creature stirred slightly at his touch, and for a moment, Hyun thought he saw its eyes flutter open. They were large and dark, filled with intelligence and sadness. The trip back to the station took 30 minutes. Hyun carried the dragon while the others gathered samples and data. Every few steps he checked to make sure it still breathed. The tiny chest rose and fell so slowly he sometimes feared it had stopped. Inside the medical bay, they placed the creature in a special chamber that could control temperature and atmosphere. Hyun watched through the clear walls as automated systems began their work. Slowly, the dragon's color improved from pale blue to a soft silver. "It's responding," Dr. Nam Yuna reported, reading the displays. "Heart rate is stabilizing. Brain activity is increasing." Hyun felt relief wash over him. The creature would live. As the hours passed, more amazing details emerged. The dragon's scales contained traces of elements that didn't exist naturally on Earth or Luna. Its wing membranes were incredibly thin but stronger than any human material. Most incredible of all, its brain showed patterns unlike any Earth animal. "It's definitely intelligent," Dr. Nam Yuna announced after running several tests. "Maybe more intelligent than us." That evening, as Hyun sat watching the sleeping dragon, he decided it needed a name. The creature had been alone in that crater, abandoned in the cold and dark. It reminded him of the word mono, meaning one or alone. "Mono," he said softly. "Your name is Mono." As if hearing its new name, the small dragon opened its eyes and looked directly at Hyun through the chamber wall. Those dark eyes held depth and understanding that made Hyun's breath catch. This was not just alien life. This was alien intelligence, and it was looking at him with something that might have been gratitude. Outside the station, Earth continued its slow rotation against the stars. Neither planet knew that everything had just changed. The universe had become a much larger and more wonderful place, but it had also become more dangerous. Deep in space, sensors that had waited for centuries finally detected what they had been programmed to find. Ancient systems awakened, and powerful minds turned their attention toward the small moon where humans had just made their greatest discovery. The dragons were coming home. 3 days after finding Mono, Dr. Kang Hyun stood in the medical bay watching his small patient eat. The dragon had learned to use the feeding system quickly, pressing buttons with his tiny claws to request different types of energy supplements. "He's getting stronger every hour," Dr. Nam Yunha reported, checking the displays. "Brain activity is off the charts. This creature is incredibly smart." Hyun smiled as Mono looked up at him through the chamber wall. The dragon's scales had changed from silver to a warm gold color. His eyes were bright and alert, following every movement in the room. "Look at this," Kim Ji-won called from her workstation. She had been trying to communicate with Mono using simple light patterns. "He's copying my signals and making new ones." On the screen, colored dots flashed in complex sequences. Mono would watch the human patterns, then create his own responses. Each time his signals became more elaborate. "He's trying to talk to us," Hyun said with wonder. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and Park Sumi's voice echoed from the speakers. "All personnel to emergency stations. We have multiple contacts approaching our position." "This is not a drill." Hyun's heart raced. In 3 years on Luna, they had never seen any ships except supply runs from Earth. He looked at Mono, who had pressed himself against the chamber wall, his golden scales now flickering with nervous energy. In the command center, the team gathered around the main display. Lee Taiho pointed at several large dots moving across the screen. 5 contacts coming from deep space, he announced. They're huge. Each one is at least a kilometer long. Park Sumi frowned at the readings. Their energy signatures don't match any human technology. The ships seem to be alive somehow. Alive? Oh, Minsu asked. What do you mean alive? The hulls are giving off biological readings, Park Sumi explained. Like they're made of living tissue instead of metal. Kim Ji-won worked frantically at her communication station. I'm receiving signals. It's not any Earth language, but the computer is finding patterns. The main screen flickered, then showed a new image. Everyone in the room stepped backward. A massive creature filled the display. It looked like a dragon, but enormous and ancient beyond imagination. Its scales were deep red and its eyes glowed like stars. When it spoke, the voice was deep and powerful. Humans of the small world, the dragon said in perfect English. We are the Draknari. We have come for what is ours. Park Sumi stepped forward even though her hands were shaking. I am Commander Park Sumi of Luna Research Station. What do you want? You have taken one of our young, the dragon replied. Return the hatchling immediately or face the consequences. Hyun felt cold fear in his stomach. They were talking about Mono. Commander, he said quietly, we need to protect him. Protect him from what? Park Sumi whispered back. The dragon on the screen seemed to hear their conversation. The hatchling has been contaminated by your presence. It must be cleansed or destroyed according to our law. Destroyed? Hyun stepped in front of the screen. That creature is just a baby. He's done nothing wrong. The dragon's eyes focused on Hyun with terrible intensity. You know nothing of our ways, human. The young must prove themselves alone on hostile worlds. Those who fail must die. It is the path of strength. That's not strength, Hyun said, his fear turning to anger. That's cruelty. A second voice interrupted the conversation. This dragon was younger, with brighter scales and less harsh features. Prime Vorthak, perhaps we should consider— Silence, Nethys Secondborn, the older dragon snapped. The law is clear. Hyun realized he was looking at two different types of Draknari. Vorthak Prime was obviously a leader, old and set in his ways. Nethys Secondborn seemed different, more curious about the humans. What if we refuse? Park Sumi asked. Vorthak Prime's laugh was like thunder. Your entire species has perhaps 50 small ships. We have 10,000 battle dragons. You cannot refuse. The screen changed to show the space around Luna. 5 massive dragon ships circled the moon like predators. Each ship was indeed alive, with wings that caught starlight and eyes that glowed with inner fire. You have 24 hours, Vorthak Prime announced. Prepare the hatchling for transfer or we will take it by force. The communication ended, leaving the humans in shocked silence. Lee Tae-ho was the first to speak. We need to call Earth immediately. This is way beyond our authority. Already done, Kim Ji-won reported. Message sent to Earth Defense Force. But it will take hours for ships to get here. Hyun looked around the room at his friends and colleagues. We can't just hand Mono over to be killed. It's wrong. It's not our choice, Lee Tae-ho argued. This could start a war. Maybe, Dr. Nam Yuna said softly. But some things are worth fighting for. Park Sumi studied the displays showing the dragon ships. What do we know about their capabilities? Oh Minsu pulled up technical readings. The ships are definitely biological. They seem to draw power directly from space radiation. Their weapons are energy-based, probably some kind of plasma system. Can we defend against them? Park Sumi asked. Lee Tae-ho shook his head. Our shields are designed for meteors and solar radiation, not military attacks. If they want to destroy us, they can. Hyun made a decision. Then we need to make them not want to destroy us. He left the command center and returned to the medical bay. Mono was pressed against the chamber wall, his scales shifting through different colors rapidly. Somehow the small dragon knew that his people had arrived. I won't let them hurt you, Hyun promised. Mono seemed to understand. He placed one tiny claw against the wall where Hyun's hand rested on the other side. For a moment, Hyun felt something strange, a warmth that seemed to flow between them, carrying feelings and thoughts that weren't quite words. Trust, gratitude, fear, and something else. Hope. Kim Ji-won's voice echoed through the station speakers. Dr. Kang, please report to communications. We're receiving another signal. When Hyun reached the communication center, he found Kim Ji-won looking puzzled. This isn't from the big ships, she explained. It's a smaller signal, very weak. Someone is trying to contact us secretly. The screen flickered, showing the face of Nethys Secondborn. The younger dragon looked around nervously before speaking. Humans, I risk much by contacting you. There are those among us who question the old ways. The hatchling you protect may be more important than you know. Important how? Hyun asked. He carries the potential for change, Nethys replied, for evolution beyond our current limitations. But Prime Vorthak fears change above all things. The connection started to break up. Nethys's last words were barely clear. Protect him. The future of both our species may depend on it. The signal died, leaving the humans with more questions than answers. Outside, Earth was rising over Luna's horizon, beautiful and distant. Soon, Admiral Yeon Minho's fleet would arrive from Earth. But would human ships be enough against living dragons that had ruled the stars for thousands of years? In the medical bay, Mono watched the stars and waited. The small dragon somehow knew that his rescue had set great events in motion. The galaxy would never be the same. 18 hours remained until the Draknari deadline. Dr. Kang Hyun had not slept since the aliens arrived. He sat in the medical bay watching Mono through the chamber wall. The small dragon had grown noticeably stronger, his golden scales now shining with inner light. "The changes in him are remarkable," Dr. Nam Yuna said, checking her readings for the 100th time. "His brain activity has increased by 300% since yesterday. It's like being around humans has awakened something in his mind." Kim Jiwon looked up from her communication station. "He's responding to our language lessons faster than any computer could. Watch this." She pressed a button and simple holographic symbols appeared in Mono's chamber. Pictures of humans, dragons, stars, and basic concepts like happy, sad, danger, and safety. Mono studied the symbols for only a moment, then began creating his own responses. Light patterns flowed from his scales, forming complex designs in the air. The computer translated his message, "Thank you for kindness." Mono fears return to cold people. Hyun felt his heart break. "He understands what's happening to him." "More than that," Kim Ji-won said excitedly. "Look at this." She showed them new readings. "He's not just learning our language. He's improving it. The communication patterns he creates are more efficient than human speech." Oh Min-soo entered the medical bay carrying a tablet full of technical data. His face was pale with worry and excitement. "You need to see this," he announced. "Mono isn't just getting smarter. He's connecting to our computer systems." "What do you mean connecting?" Hyun asked. Oh Min-soo pulled up a schematic of the station's network. 20 minutes ago, our defense computer started running better. Faster processing, cleaner data flows, improved efficiency. Then I traced the improvements back to their source." He pointed at the medical bay on the diagram. "It's coming from here, from him. Mono is somehow interfacing with our technology through the chamber's sensors." Dr. Nam Yunha stared at the readings in amazement. "This is impossible. He's a biological being, not a machine." "Maybe the line isn't as clear as we thought," Oh Min-soo suggested. "His bioelectric field is incredibly complex. It might be compatible with our electronics in ways we never imagined." Park Sumi's voice crackled over the communication system. "All senior staff to the command center immediately. We have incoming ships from Earth." The team hurried to the command center, where the main screen showed Admiral Yeon Minho's fleet approaching Luna. 12 human warships moved in tight formation, their hulls gleaming with fresh armor and weapons. "It's not enough," Lee Tae-ho said grimly. "The Draknari have 5 ships, each one larger than our entire fleet." Admiral Yeon Minho's face appeared on the screen. He was a stern man with gray hair and tired eyes. "Commander Park, I'm Admiral Yeon. We received your report about first contact. This is an unprecedented situation." "Yes, sir," Park Sumi replied. "The aliens want us to return the creature we rescued. They say they'll destroy us if we refuse." "And what's your recommendation?" Admiral Yeon asked. Before Park Sumi could answer, Hyun stepped forward. "Admiral, that creature is an intelligent being asking for our protection. We can't just hand him over to be killed." Admiral Yeon studied Hyun through the screen. "Dr. Kang, isn't it? I've read your file. Your decision to rescue this alien may have started an interstellar war. Or it may have started something much better," Hyun replied. "This creature, Mono, is changing. Being with humans is making him evolve in ways his own people never imagined." "Explain," Admiral Yeon ordered. Dr. Nam Yunha stepped forward. "Sir, in just 4 days, Mono has developed cognitive abilities beyond any Earth animal. He's learning our language, improving our technology, and showing emotional intelligence that rivals human empathy. Furthermore," Oh Min-soo added, "he's interfaced with our computer systems in ways that should be impossible. Our defense capabilities have improved dramatically just from his presence." Admiral Yeon looked thoughtful. "Show me." Kim Ji-won brought up the communication logs. "Mono has been trying to contact the Draknari ships directly. He wants to talk to them, but they won't listen. According to him, his people believe he's been contaminated by human influence." "Has he been?" Admiral Yeon asked. "Yes," Hyun said simply. "And we've been changed by him too. This is what first contact should be. 2 species learning from each other, becoming more than they were alone." Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the station. On the main screen, the Draknari ships were moving closer to Luna's surface. Vorthak Prime's voice boomed from the speakers. Humans, your time grows short. We detect more of your vessels arriving. Do not think numbers will save you. Admiral Yeon opened a communication channel. This is Admiral Yeon Minho of the Earth Defense Force. We're willing to negotiate. There is nothing to negotiate, Vorthak Prime replied. Return our hatchling or face destruction. What if the hatchling doesn't want to return? Admiral Yeon asked. The wants of failed young ones do not matter, Vorthak Prime said coldly. That's when something unexpected happened. Mono's voice came over the communication system, speaking in the Draknari language. His words were translated for the humans. Honored Elder, I am not failed. I am becoming something new. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Vorthak Prime spoke, his voice filled with rage. The contamination runs deeper than we feared. You will be cleansed, young one, even if it destroys you. But another voice interrupted. Nethys Secondborn spoke quickly in Draknari, then switched to English. Prime Vorthak, the hatchling speaks with wisdom beyond his years. Perhaps we should listen. Silence, Nethys, Vorthak Prime roared. You forget your place. No, Nethys replied, his voice growing stronger. I remember what we could become. Suddenly, one of the Draknari ships broke formation. It was smaller than the others, but still massive compared to human vessels. The ship moved away from the main fleet and took position between the Draknari and the human forces. Nethys, what are you doing? Vorthak Prime demanded. What should have been done long ago, Nethys replied. I claim protection rights for this hatchling under the ancient laws. He has shown courage, intelligence, and growth. These humans have proven themselves worthy guardians, Hyun watched in amazement as the situation transformed from a simple ultimatum to a complex political crisis within the Draknari Empire. Itself in the medical bay, Mono's scales were now glowing brightly. The small dragon was doing something to the station's systems, but this time it was different. Every screen in the command center began showing the same image, Mono himself, but not as he appeared in the chamber. The holographic Mono was larger, more mature, with scales that shifted through all colors of the rainbow. When he spoke, his words came in both human and Draknari languages simultaneously. I am not what I was, Mono said. I am not what you expected me to become. I am something new, something that could bridge the gap between our peoples. You are an abomination, Vorthak Prime declared. I am evolution, Mono replied calmly, and I am not alone. On the long-range sensors, new contacts were appearing. More Draknari ships were arriving, but these were different, smaller, faster, and they were positioning themselves near Nethys's vessel. The revolution has begun, Nethys announced. Young Draknari across the Empire have heard about the Bridge Child. They come to see what we might become. Vorthak Prime's rage was terrible to witness. Then you will all be cleansed together. The ancient Draknari leader gave orders to his remaining ships. They began charging their weapons, preparing to destroy not only the human station, but also their own rebellious young. In that moment, Hyun realized that saving one small dragon had ignited a civil war among the stars. The galaxy would never be the same. The first energy blast from Vorthak Prime's flagship lit up the space around Luna like a small sun. Admiral Yeon Minho's fleet scattered, their human ships moving fast but fragile compared to the massive dragon vessels. Dr. Kang Hyun felt the station shake as defensive shields activated. In the medical bay, Mono pressed himself against the chamber wall, his scales flashing with urgent colors. The battle has begun, Dr. Nam Yuna said, watching the displays with wide eyes. Our ships are trying to protect the station, but they're outgunned. On the main screen, Nethys Secondborn's ship moved to intercept Vorthak Prime's attack. The younger dragon's vessel was beautiful, with silver scales and wings that caught starlight. But it was much smaller than the ancient flagship. Foolish child, Vorthak Prime roared over the communication channels. You betray your own species for these weak humans. I betray nothing, Nethys replied, his ship firing bright energy bolts at the larger vessel. I choose evolution over extinction. More ships were arriving every hour. Some came to support Vorthak Prime's traditional views. Others joined Nethys and the growing rebellion. Soon the space around Luna was filled with dragon ships in 3 different groups: traditionalists, rebels, and humans caught in the middle. Hyun watched Admiral Yeon trying to coordinate the defense. The human ships were fast and clever, but their weapons barely scratched the dragon vessels. It was like watching children fight giants. "We need a miracle," Park Sumi said grimly. That's when Mono did something that changed everything. The small dragon in the medical chamber began to glow more brightly than ever before. His scales shifted through colors that had no names, and energy flowed from his body into the station's systems. "What's he doing?" Kim Ji-won asked, her instruments going wild with readings. Oh, Minsu checked his technical displays. "He's connecting to everything. Not just our computers. He's reaching out to the ship networks, the communication systems, even the weapon controls." Suddenly, Admiral Yeon's voice came over the speakers, but it sounded different, clearer, more confident. "All human ships, new targeting data incoming. Something is helping us." On the battle displays, the human weapons became incredibly accurate. Energy bolts that should have missed their targets struck with perfect precision. Defense shields strengthened beyond their normal limits. Ship movements became coordinated like a single mind was guiding them. "It's Mono," Hyun realized. "He's connecting to our entire fleet." But the small dragon was paying a terrible price. His body temperature was rising dangerously and his life signs were becoming erratic. "He's killing himself," Dr. Nam Yuna said in alarm. "The energy output is too much for his small body to handle." In space, the effect of Mono's intervention was dramatic. Human ships that had been running defensive patterns suddenly became a unified force. They moved like a school of fish, each vessel knowing exactly where the others would be. Vorthak Prime noticed the change immediately. "What sorcery is this? Your weapons have become powerful." Admiral Yeon smiled grimly. "We have a very special advisor." The battle intensified. Dragon ships fired massive energy beams that could destroy planets, while human vessels darted between them like angry insects. But now the insects had stings that could hurt the dragons. More rebel dragons arrived, led by an ancient female called Raven Wing Storm. Her ship was black with silver markings, and she commanded a fleet of young Draknari who had grown tired of the old ways. "Nephew Nethys," she called to the younger dragon, "your message has spread across 17 star systems. The young ones come to see this miracle child." "Aunt Ravenwing," Nethys replied with relief in his voice. "I hoped you would come. How could I not? A hatchling who bridges species, who evolves beyond our limitations. This is what our people need." Vorthak Prime's rage reached new heights. "Ravenwing Storm, you are a fool like your nephew. This contamination will destroy our purity." "Our purity has made us stagnant," Ravenwing replied. "For 1,000 years we have conquered but never grown. These humans show us what we could become." The space battle spread beyond Luna as more forces arrived from both sides. Conservative Draknari elders brought their ancient war fleets, while progressive dragons came with ships full of young warriors eager for change. On Earth, President Lim Yunji declared a state of emergency. General Cho Sang-wook mobilized every available ship, but everyone knew it might not be enough. The Draknari Empire had ruled the stars for millennia. Humanity had been in space for less than a century. In the medical bay, Mono was getting weaker. The small dragon had been pouring his life energy into the human ships for hours. His golden scales were fading to pale silver and his breathing was shallow. "We have to stop him," Hyun said desperately. "He'll die if he keeps this up." "But if he stops, our ships will be defenseless," Oh Minsu pointed out. Hyun made the hardest decision of his life. He opened the isolation chamber and stepped inside with Mono. The small dragon looked up at him with tired eyes. "You don't have to carry this burden alone," Hyun whispered, placing his hand on Mono's head. The moment they touched, Hyun felt Mono's pain and exhaustion flow into him, but he also felt the dragon's determination and love for his human friends. Most amazing of all, he sensed the vast network of ships and systems that Mono was coordinating. "Together," Hyun said, adding his human creativity to Mono's Draknari power. The effect was immediate. In space, the human fleet began moving with even greater coordination. But more than that, they began to show mercy. Instead of destroying damaged dragon ships, they disabled them. Instead of seeking revenge, they offered help to wounded enemies. This confused both sides. Draknari warriors had never seen such behavior in battle. "Why do they spare us?" asked one traditionalist captain after his ship was disabled but not destroyed. "Because they know something we forgot," Raven Wingstorm replied. "That enemies can become friends, and friends can become family." The battle reached its climax above Mars, where Vorthak Prime had gathered his most powerful ships for a final assault on Earth itself. The ancient dragon was determined to destroy humanity completely, rather than allow them to corrupt more of his people. In the medical bay on Luna, Mono looked up at Hyun with failing eyes. The small dragon had given everything he had to protect his human friends. His body was shutting down from the incredible strain. "I'm sorry," Mono whispered through their mental connection. "Cannot do more." "You've done enough," Hyun replied, tears flowing down his face. "More than enough." Mono's eyes closed and his scales went dark. The small dragon who had started a galactic revolution fell into a coma that might be his last sleep. In space, the human ships suddenly lost their supernatural coordination. Admiral Yeon's voice was grim as he reported to Earth. "We've lost our tactical advantage. All ships prepare for final battle." The war for the future of two species was about to reach its end. Dr. Kang Hyun sat beside Mono's still form in the medical chamber, holding the small dragon's claw in his hand. 3 days had passed since the battle at Mars, and Mono had not opened his eyes. The life support systems kept his body alive, but his mind seemed lost in darkness. "His brain activity is almost zero," Dr. Nam Yuna reported sadly. "I don't think he's coming back." Outside the medical bay, the war continued to rage across the galaxy. Without Mono's help, Admiral Yeon Minho's fleet had barely escaped destruction at Mars. Now they were retreating toward Earth, fighting running battles against Vorthak Prime's forces. But something unexpected was happening throughout Dreknari space. News of Mono's sacrifice had spread to thousands of worlds. Young dragons everywhere were asking questions about the small hatchling who had given his life to protect another species. Park Sumi entered the medical bay with a grim expression. "We're receiving reports from across the galaxy. Dreknari youth are refusing orders, demanding to know why we're being destroyed for showing kindness." Kim Ji-won looked up from her communication station. "It's getting worse for the traditionalists. Or better, depending on how you look at it. Entire fleets are deserting Vorthak Prime's cause." Through the mental link he still shared with Mono, Hyun could sense something that the others couldn't. The small dragon wasn't truly unconscious. He was doing something else, something that required all his remaining strength. "He's still fighting," Hyun said softly. "Not with weapons or ships, but with ideas. He's showing young Dreknari what they could become." Oh, Minsu checked his instruments. The bioelectric field around him is still active, but it's different now. Instead of connecting to our computers, it's sending signals into deep space. "What kind of signals?" Park Sumi asked. "Memories," Hyun realized. "He's sharing his memories of being with us." Every Dreknari in the galaxy is seeing what kindness looks like, what friendship means. On Earth, President Lim Yunji faced the hardest decision in human history. General Cho Sang-wook had presented her with 3 options: surrender to the Dreknari Empire, fight to the last ship, or try something that had never been attempted before. The third option is based on Dr. Nam Yuna's research, General Cho explained over the secure communication link. She believes that the bond between humans and this dragon represents evolutionary potential for both species. President Lim studied the reports on her screen. "Explain what that means in practical terms." Dr. Nam Yuna joined the conversation from Luna. "Madam President, Mono's time with us has changed him in ways we're still discovering. But it's also changed us. Humans who have been exposed to his bioelectric field show increased empathy, creativity, and problem-solving abilities." "You're talking about permanent changes to human nature," President Lim said. "Yes, but positive ones," Dr. Nam Yuna continued. "And we believe the effect works both ways. Dreknari exposed to human thinking become more flexible, more creative, less rigid in their traditions." General Cho leaned forward. "The proposal is to offer ourselves as willing subjects for this evolutionary process. Instead of fighting the Dreknari, we join with them." President Lim was quiet for a long moment. "And if it doesn't work?" "Then humanity ends," General Cho said simply. "But if we keep fighting, we end anyway. At least this way we might create something better." Meanwhile, in the depths of space, an ancient ship approached the Luna system. It was larger than any vessel in the war fleets, older than recorded history. The ship belonged to Cathara the Ancient, Empress of the Dreknari Empire. For 10,000 years, Cathara had ruled her people with wisdom and strength. She had seen civilizations rise and fall, watched species evolve and go extinct. Nothing surprised her anymore, except for reports of a hatchling who loved his enemies. "Vorthak Prime," she called to her fleet commander. Explain to me why you are destroying our own young ones over a single failed hatchling. Vorthak Prime's image appeared on her communication screen. The proud dragon looked tired and angry. My Empress, the contamination spreads. These humans have poisoned our youth with their weakness. Show me this weakness, Kythera commanded. The images that followed stunned the ancient Empress. She saw human ships rescuing Draknari survivors from destroyed vessels. She witnessed Admiral Yan Minho offering medical supplies to wounded dragon warriors. Most amazing of all, she observed young Draknari and humans working together to repair damaged ships. This is not weakness, Kythera said slowly. This is something I have not seen in many centuries. It is corruption of our pure nature, Vorthak Prime insisted. Our pure nature has made us alone, Kythera replied. For millennia, we have conquered but never truly connected with another species. Perhaps it is time to try something different. On Luna, volunteers from across human space were arriving to help with Dr. Nam Yunha's research. They came knowing they might not survive, but hoping their sacrifice would save both species. Among the volunteers was Hyun's own sister, Dr. Kang Minji, a neurologist from Earth's medical corps. Brother, she said as she hugged Hyun in the station corridor, I came as soon as I heard about your dragon friend. It's dangerous, Hyun warned. We don't know what the bonding process will do to humans long term. We don't know what war will do to us either, Minji replied. At least this way we're choosing hope over fear. The volunteers underwent careful preparation. Each one would attempt to form a mental connection with Draknari volunteers, who had also arrived secretly. Netha's second-born had organized a group of young dragons willing to risk everything for the chance at true understanding between species. The first bonding attempt was between Dr. Kang, Minji, and a young female dragon named Lyra Starwing. They sat facing each other through a modified isolation chamber, while monitoring equipment recorded every biological change. Are you ready? Dr. Nam Yunha asked both volunteers. Ready, Minji replied. Ready, Lyra agreed, her scales shimmering with nervous energy. They reached out simultaneously, human hand and dragon claw touching the barrier between them. The moment of contact created a flash of light that filled the entire medical bay. When the light faded, both beings had changed. Minji's eyes held flecks of dragon gold, while Lyra's scales showed patterns that resembled human neural networks. How do you feel? Dr. Nam Yuna asked. Minji smiled with wonder. I feel complete, like I was only half of myself before. I understand now, Lyra said, her voice carrying human emotion for the first time. Understanding is not weakness. It is the greatest strength of all. News of the successful bonding spread quickly through both human and rebel Draknari networks. More volunteers came forward, eager to participate in this new form of evolution. But Vorthak Prime was not finished. Gathering the most traditionalist dragons from across the Empire, he prepared for a final assault that would destroy Earth, Luna, and every trace of the contamination that threatened Draknari purity. In the medical bay, Mono stirred slightly. His eyes remained closed, but his scales flickered with faint color. Through their mental link, Hyun felt a whisper of thought from his small friend. Time, almost, ready. Ready for what? Hyun whispered back. But Mono had slipped back into his deep coma, leaving Hyun with only hope and the approaching shadow of Vorthak Prime's final fleet. The fate of two species hung in the balance, waiting for whatever miracle Mono was preparing in the depths of his extraordinary mind. Kythera the Ancient arrived at Luna in a ship that dwarfed all others. Her vessel was a living mountain of crystalline scales and ancient power, older than human civilization itself. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of 10,000 years. I have come to see the hatchling who started a revolution, she announced. Dr. Kang Hyun stood in the station's main airlock as the Empress entered. She was magnificent and terrifying, with scales that shifted through deep colors like living jewels. Her eyes held the wisdom of ages, but also a sadness that seemed endless. Your Majesty, Hyun said, bowing slightly. Mono is very sick. He gave everything to protect both our species. Kythera studied the small human with curiosity. You are the one who saved him from the cold moon surface. The one who bonded with him. Yes, he's my friend. Friend, Kythera repeated the word as if testing its meaning. We have no word for this in our ancient language. We have rulers and subjects, hunters and prey, strong and weak. But friend, this is new. Park Sumi joined them, nervous but determined. Your Majesty, we're honored by your visit, but Vorthak Prime's fleet is approaching Earth. Many people will die if this war continues. Yes, Kithara said sadly. My old student has forgotten that strength without wisdom becomes cruelty. Take me to the hatchling. In the medical bay, Kithara looked down at Mono's still form. The small dragon lay pale and motionless, kept alive only by human machines. But his scales still flickered with faint inner light. He lives, Kithara observed, but barely. What did he sacrifice himself for? To save us, Hyun replied. All of us. Humans and Draknari both. Show me what you have learned from him, the Empress commanded. Dr. Nam Yunha brought forward Minji and Lyra Starwing, the first successful bonding pair. They moved together with perfect coordination, thinking and feeling as one mind in two bodies. We are no longer separate, Minji explained. I carry her strength and she carries my creativity. Together we are more than we were alone. Lyra nodded, her scales showing patterns that resembled human thought waves. The barriers between species are illusions. We are all part of something larger. Kithara watched them for a long time. In 10,000 years of rule, I have never seen anything like this. You have found a third path, one that our laws never considered. What do you mean? Hyun asked. Our law says the strong must dominate the weak, Kithara explained. Your human law says all beings should be free. But you have discovered a law that transcends both, the law of willing unity. Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the station. On the main screens, Vorthak Prime's massive fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of ancient war dragons, their scales dark with battle rage. He comes to end this once and for all, Kithara said grimly. Vorthak Prime would rather destroy both our species than see them change. Admiral Yeon Minho's voice crackled over the communication system from Earth orbit. All stations, this is Admiral Yeon. Enemy fleet approaching. They're not responding to any diplomatic signals. Vorthak Prime's image appeared on every screen in the station. The ancient dragon looked older than when Hyun had first seen him, worn down by months of civil war. Kithara, my empress, Vorthak said, surprise evident in his voice. Why do you stand with these contaminated beings? I stand where I have always stood, Kithara replied calmly. With the future of our people, but I no longer believe that future lies in endless conquest. Then you have been corrupted as well, Vorthak declared. I do what I must to preserve our purity. Our purity has become our prison, Kithara said. Look around the galaxy, old friend. Every species we have conquered has either died or fled. We rule over empty worlds and dead systems. Is this the legacy we want? Vorthak Prime's rage was terrible to witness. Better dead than weak. Better extinct than contaminated. Then you force me to choose, Kithara said sadly. The space battle that followed was unlike any before. Vorthak Prime's traditionalist forces attacked everything. Human ships, rebel dragons, and even Kithara's personal guard. They fought with the fury of beings who saw their entire worldview crumbling. But something unexpected happened in the midst of the battle. Mono opened his eyes. The small dragon was still weak, still pale, but his mind was clear. He looked up at Hyun with love and determination. Ready now, Mono whispered through their mental link. Ready to show them. Before anyone could ask what he meant, Mono began to glow with light brighter than a star. Energy flowed from his small body, but this time it wasn't connecting to ships or computers. It was connecting to every conscious mind in the solar system. Suddenly, every human and every Draknari could see through each other's eyes. They felt each other's fears, hopes, loves, and dreams. Vorthak Prime's warriors experienced human compassion. Human soldiers felt Draknari pride and honor. Most importantly, everyone understood that they were not enemies but different parts of the same cosmic family. The fighting stopped as if a switch had been thrown. Ships drifted in space, their crews overwhelmed by the flood of shared emotion and understanding. What is this sorcery? Vorthak Prime demanded, but his voice held more wonder than anger now. This is truth, Mono replied, his mental voice reaching everyone. This is what I learned from the humans. We are all connected. We are all part of the same universe, the same story. Hyun felt tears on his face as he experienced the moment through Mono's consciousness. The small dragon was showing everyone what he had discovered. That love was not weakness but the strongest force in the universe. One by one, the traditionalist dragons began to change their positions. They moved from attack formations to defensive ones, then to neutral ones. Finally, many moved to join the mixed human Draknari fleets. Vorthak Prime found himself alone, his great fleet reduced to a handful of the most rigid traditionalists. "I do not understand," he said, his voice small and lost. Cathara's ship moved close to his flagship. "Then let me teach you, old friend. As you once taught me about strength, let me teach you about wisdom." The ancient empress extended a mental bridge to her former student. Through it, she shared her own newfound understanding, the lessons learned from watching humans and Draknari work together. Slowly, Vorthak Prime's resistance crumbled. The proud dragon wept as he felt the love that flowed between species, the joy of cooperation instead of domination. "I have been wrong," he admitted. "I have been so very wrong." In the medical bay, Mono smiled and closed his eyes again. But this time it was not the sleep of exhaustion but the rest of completion. "Is it over?" Kim Ji-won asked. "No," Hyun replied, watching new mixed fleets forming in space around them. "It's just beginning." 5 years later, the Luna Research Station had grown into Luna City, capital of the Human Draknari Alliance. Children of both species played together in parks where earth flowers grew beside dragon crystals. Mono, now fully grown but still smaller than traditional Draknari, served as the first ambassador of understanding. He spent his days helping other species join the alliance, showing them that difference was not something to fear but to celebrate. Yun, permanently bonded with his dragon friend, worked as a scientist and diplomat. Together they had explored dozens of worlds, always looking for new friends among the stars. Standing in the garden plaza of Luna City, watching human and dragon children play together, Hyun reflected on how much had changed. A single act of kindness had reshaped the galaxy. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked Mono through their mental link. "Regret love? Regret friendship? Regret hope?" Mono replied with gentle amusement. "Never. This is what we were always meant to become." Above them, ships from 100 worlds came and went, carrying beings of every shape and size. The galaxy had become a vast community instead of a collection of enemies, and at the center of it all was the simple truth that a small dragon had taught them, that the greatest adventures begin when someone chooses compassion over fear, understanding over conquest, and love over loneliness. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but it was no longer cold or empty. It was home,